Check, check. Welcome to episode 2 of Mara in Motion. We're here at Fruška, Gora again. We're going to go for a bit of a walk. We're going to check out the spomenik and we're going to do a bit of an update on business this week in the world of Mara. Business this week was interesting. This is one of the typical examples of how business doesn't go according to plan, and it's very rarely a direct line. So, following up from what I mentioned last week, that there was truth to what I mentioned, or value to what I mentioned, and there was an element of distraction to what I mentioned. The truthful piece was that there was a lot of value in developing the brand image, the brand name, the tone, the take-home lines, the slogan, etc. The downside was thinking it was just about the content, which it wasn't. It was about the message. And creating content at the expense of the delivery of a message wasn't the solution. So it wasn't a matter of, hey, I did 5 videos this week, if I do 10 the next week, it's going to double my results. Not really. It's something that I'm seeing more of as a long-term play, a brand building play with the content. And as far as the high leverage actions required to be taken to keep building this, one of the things that I did was I wasn't entirely sure if it was the content last week or what it was that gave us our biggest week yet. Now, there's things that are important to speak to. One, that whenever you have a big week, the expectation is like, yeah, let's keep doing that, let's keep growing. And of course, that's the intention. However, if you have a significant spike in growth, then you can't expect to keep spiking week on week. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes in business you have these periods where you just have momentum and profound growth. Yet we're not at that stage yet. We're at the stage where we're still figuring it out. We're still dialing in the tone. We're still figuring out the messaging. We're still figuring out who's really engaging with this product consistently and what the benefits that they're getting from it are. And so one of my things for this week was to reach out to everyone that's purchased the product and to ask them 2 simple questions. 1, how did you hear about us? 2, why are you using Dragon Breath? And then a follow-up was, what are you enjoying about it? And what that's giving me insight into is that there's people who are using this product that is completely unaware of to me as to why, and the product's finding its own market through word of mouth referral. One of those markets is for the sensory benefits. So when you spray this product, you swallow, you give it a few moments, and you start to feel quite a significant sensory experience. That has actually been very valuable for some people who have addictions, who have bad habits, who are trying to create good habits in place of their bad habits, and they've been using Dragon Breath to help them out with that. Because a part of our habits, like especially for people who pick and bite their nails or things like that, it's something sensory that we're looking to fulfill. And so it's one thing to just say, I'm not going to do that anymore. But in replacing it with a positive habit, people are finding quite a beautiful benefit, which was news to me. It's the first time I heard it last week. And so it's given me a whole new market of people that I can market to that I was previously completely unaware of. That's exciting to me. And aside from that, I feel like the lessons from this week was just to pivot sooner. So I tried employing a few strategies for collaborations, for brand partnerships that I picked up off influencers such as Simon Squibb. I followed his email template model that he sent out on his newsletter, and it was kind of cool. I actually sent it out to him to use his own template on a potential brand partnership with him, and I got a response. We'll see where that leads. The value in that was, hey, this seems like a really simple thing. Let me try it out and let me send out 100 emails for 100 potential partnerships where I can JV with someone and share my network into theirs and vice versa. The other side of it was that it was a sidestep in attention and effort from staying on brand and building the way that I felt truly alive. So naturally, what I noticed was I felt a little bit drained, a little bit dragged with the energy because I was following in the footsteps of someone else. That worked for him, and that's awesome. That's great, and it may work for me. I don't know. It's only been a week. time will tell. Yet the valuable teaching was that, again, like I mentioned last week, and this is the constant journey of entrepreneurship, staying true to the brand tone. The kind of people that I'll probably end up collaborating with will be people that I probably meet around the fire, walking around, doing these episodes, people who hear me playing the flutes or playing the didge, and that will be the way that this brand builds itself, because that's what's alive for me. So let's go check out this beautiful monument over here, and let's go have a bit of fun. Let's see what comes of it. That's the high level of business this week from Mara in Motion, and now let's go check out a beautiful sacred site. Today's journey has brought us to this beautiful monument that you see behind me, Spomenik Sloboda. This was put up for all the troops, all the people who gave of themselves, who gave their lives during the anti-fascistic movement during the Second World War, when the Germans were arriving, for all of Vojvodina, which is all these mountains here in the surrounding areas. So this was a monument that was put up to remember all those lives. A little bit of history of these mountains and recognizing how much people give of themselves. And to me, what that wakes up in me is the awareness of what we give of ourselves for the things that are meaningful to us. You know, part of this channel is me speaking about business. The other part of it is the part that's really deeply important to me, which is connecting ourselves to our roots. And not just speaking about ancestral roots in the way of bloodline memory. I'm speaking about ancestral roots in the way of the land on which we walk. Spend a moment getting to know your neighborhood, get to know the land on which you walk, bring some appreciation to it, and learn to marvel in the beauty of what those who have come before us have given. I read the beautiful words that all of the land on which we walk is the dust from the bones of the ancestors of those lands. It's a powerful one to meditate on. So check it out. We came out here, just like I mentioned a few moments ago, with the intention of just coming back to the rhythm of what brings Mara to life, what is Mara, and being Mara in motion. And I thought, well, it's going to be a short and sweet episode just of the recap that you heard. And we started walking, and I realized, look, all around us there's pine trees that are filled with pine pollen. There's some right here that's fallen to the ground. And something that's been a dream for me for a couple of years already now with Mara has been to create a pine pollen that comes from a unique source. And what greater source than from the land of my ancestors, from Serbia. So we're out here, we're actually going to collect some, and we're going to do a first trial batch for ourselves and see how it comes out. And if we like what we create, then expect to see it in the offerings soon. But I mean, this is a perfect manifestation instantly of how coming back into the current of where the life force is for me, and I'm feeling more and more alive just from the few moments that we've been here. I'm feeling the inspiration surging through me more and more, and I'm feeling the aliveness of everything that I create, whereas right before we started recording the video, I didn't even want to record it because I felt like the week was so kind of flat, and I realized that largely that flatness came from the decisions that I made to try and mechanize what I mentioned about the reels and to try and apply the strategies of others. And I mean, that's the entrepreneur's journey. So, you know, we go through trial and error and we find things that work. And what I found, bar none, that works the most is that if I'm doing the things that make me alive, that I enjoy, that keep me inspired, people resonate with that, and that's why they usually end up buying the product. So I'm gonna do more of that. Enjoy. We'll give you a bit of a walkthrough of this pine pollen. Come in close, get a recording of it so that people can see what we're talking about. But it is abundant here, and these are some of the biggest strands I've seen. It is a little bit late in the season, so there's not going to be a heap in there. Some of them have completely dried out. There's actually nothing in that one. But we were having a play with some just before that were carrying a bit of pollen in them. This one has nothing in it. So unsurprisingly, there we go, we've got a bit in there. You can see the pollen on my fingers. But we found another tree further over that had quite a bit more. So we're going to go for a bit of a harvest and at least get enough to make a little batch for this year, a little sample batch. And next year we know, because we were here, but we just didn't make it out here in time to get the pine pollen harvested when it was really fresh, but that's right, we're here, we're learning, and the important thing is we're enjoying the process. I know sometimes people go to harvest pine pollen and they go, I missed it, and they get upset about it. What for? You're in nature, you're finding a connection to it, you're learning how to speak to the plant, how to connect with it, how to know its seasons, and how to find yourself at the right time at the right place in order to live in harmony with it. So yeah, this one's completely emptied out, but we're going to go for a bit of a hunt and we're going to make a bit of a harvest. So there's a little bit from me around the quick shifts that we can make, and I'd say that these are the most important shifts. We have the logistical, practical actions that we're taking and making a shift on those, but the most important piece for me on the entrepreneur's journey is to actually enjoy what I'm doing and to not feel like I'm slamming myself against like a steam engine, just trying to force my way through walls. That is one way to create, but it's not the way that I choose to create, and there is a much more natural way. And when we look at nature's flow, there is always a flow, and I feel that's one thing that entrepreneurs generally forget, and they just make growth the be all and end all at the expense of their own livelihood and their own quality of life. That's why people go on big entrepreneurial journeys and then they have like a dark night of the soul, or they suffer in some kind of way because they realize that they abandon everything for the mission of growth. And that's cool, but what's even cooler and what's an even greater G thing to do is to grow your business and to enjoy every single step along the way. Covered in it, but we got ourselves a nice bag. Pine pollen from Fruška, Gora, from the mountains here, just close to Novi Sad in Serbia. My hand is covered in pine pollen, as you can tell, along with my clothes. I'm going for a new style. The thing that I'll comment about pine pollen that I absolutely love is it's incredible it's incredible as a hormonal tonic, and when you're harvesting it, it's got this enchanting aspect to it where you literally see it's like it's appearing in front of your eyes out of nowhere. It's when you haven't harvested it before and you start to harvest it, it seems like it's appearing out of nowhere, the way that it's packed in there. So to me, it has this really beautiful quality in teaching about recognizing the things that are really packed in our lives that we may not. And it's concentrated sunlight, so in those pockets of the pine cones themselves, it's packed in there, and it's only through the process of getting your hands a little bit dirty that you get to know it in this way, and it's really magical. Recorded a bit of a video that we'll put up as well that you can check out. But that's it, that's my little piece around the magic of how we connect ourselves to these plants, to nature, and to realize that this whole journey of wellness, of biohacking, living the best life that you can possibly live, it's hard done by if all you're doing is just living in the city. Get out here, get your hands in the earth, get your feet on the earth, and allow yourself to experience this raw, primal pulse of life.